Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup here at Kansas Motor Speedway. I hope you're all well tonight and ready to enjoy some racing here. Joining me, as always, in the booth is Mr. Jono Hancock. How you going, Jono?
Good, how you, Carl?
Not bad, thank you. I've actually got a voice this week, so that does make things slightly easier for broadcasting standards. Um, Quickly, before we jump into other things, though, I'm just going to quickly jump into the championship standings as they are from last time out at Charlotte. So, in first place, we have Danny G doing a great season so far, very consistent. He got his first win, of course. Now he's up there, he's really putting some pressure on the top. Just behind him is a man that hasn't won a race this season, and he's one of the only men in the top five that's not won a race, and that's Mr. Edward Foster for JP Simshed Racing. Next is Michael Skurlock, who's been having a very consistent season with his new team. Just behind him is Josh Micklemore. The Mitch Motorsport boys have been very strong this season. In fifth place is another driver without a win, and that's Hamish Gallagher, very strong tonight, had a very good qualifying position. Just behind him is Jason Hartigan. Behind him, Jason Martin. Then in 8th place, we have Matthew Clutt, James Robbie in 9th, and 10th is another JP Sim driver, and that is Norman Clark. So the big teams have got their names up there, but a few privateers, a few sort of Lone Star teams have managed to get themselves in the top 10. It's looking interesting for the championship season so far.
Yeah, we're about halfway through the season, I believe, there, Carl. So things are starting to spice up, and we'll see some getting a bit more aggressive towards the pointy end of this championship.
Absolutely. So tonight we're looking probably around about 60, 70 laps on sort of pace for green flag pace, obviously, for pit stops. Kansas is not always everybody's favourite speedway, is it?
No, it's definitely not. It's an odd shape with the tri-ovalish area on the front stretch.
Yeah, the tri-ovals can really throw people out, and we've seen that in practice. The other thing about Kansas, of course, is you tend to run quite a high line here, which is quite... It's not so common on the very fast speedways, and a few people do get caught out here on the barriers, of course. So who was your prediction tonight to click their heels together 3 times and get the victory, Jono?
Am I going to put the commentator's curse on someone? I'll put it on Mr. Jason Martin this week.
Look, Jason Martin is a hard one not to back. He actually got pole in qualifying. Very, very well done for him, and he just put out an amazing lap. I've got to go for his teammate, actually, Josh Micklemore. Again, a very good lap in qualifying for him. On his final lap in qualifying, he was on it so much. He was so close to the wall. It was an absolute joy to watch. So we're going to start lining up for the grid here now. So we'll be able to talk you through those grid positions and get ready for all of that. Let me just quickly click on the right things. So starting off on the first row of the grid, we have Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore. Second row is Hamish Gallagher with Rob Fletcher. Third row is Danny G with Michael Skurlock. Fourth row is Bradley Allison with Raymond Yeager. Fifth row is Danny Albin and Edward Foster. Sixth row is Mirko Dortnack with Stephen Williams. Seventh row is James Roby with Barry Nail. Eighth row is Norman Clark with Stacey Walker. Ninth row is Bruce Barnes and Phil Otto. 10th row is Lachlan with Shay Thompson. 11th row is Mark Johansson with Steve Hoppett, returning driver to the series. Nice to see Steve back in the car. 12th row, we have Tristan Koch with Lachlan Robinson. 13th row, we have Matt Hunter with Michael Latterer, who didn't set times in qualifying. So, not a huge field tonight, but there are a fair few drivers out there, and trouble can happen quite quickly here at Kansas. It's very easy to get sucked into a spin here, into a tornado, and have everything go wrong.
Yeah, there's always opportunity for the big one at any super speedway. So it's something to be aware and alert of as a driver, is just to stay vigilant.
It's a very hard thing to avoid sometimes, the big one, especially, if it happens towards the front of the field. You're not just relying on the drivers, on yourself, obviously, to get through the wreck, to sort of part the seas as Moses, as it were, to get through all the carnage, but you've got to rely on the drivers behind you as well to slow down. And that's usually where the big incidents come from, is when everybody sort of tries to days of thunder it and go through the incident and make their way through, but it doesn't work that way usually, and you end up with a bigger crash than you started with. But the Mitch Motorsport boys have it locked out at the front, coming round for the start of this race. So your money's on Jason, I'm on Josh. It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, we'll see how they get off to the start here. It'll be interesting to see how those lines start out here tonight and how they finish up.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they finish the lines up, but we're going to shut up for the start of this race as we go green here at Kansas. And we've already got a caution out here tonight as one of the cars has gone down underneath the Stacey Walker's gone down, and that is a big one.
Yeah, we're going to go to recall.
Yeah, it was
Just
a big
got into
incident,
an
that one.
outside wall there, and I don't know if they were helped there at all or not, but some of the back guys had to really avoid it.
Just going back to have a bit of a look at that one a bit closer, it looks like Stacey just got loose behind another car. Just the front lifted off, and then a tank slapper happened, and that caused Matt Hunter and a couple of other drivers to have to go down low, and they almost had a sort of secondary crash down there. So a couple of drivers involved in that one. Our first caution has come out quite quickly in this race, on lap number 1, unfortunately.
Yeah, not the best way to start the race off, but I'm sure we get going here and race in only a few minutes.
That's it. And one thing we just want to talk about there is actually just what happened to Stacey. Um, just going back to watch that sort of on the Stacey's car, you can see how easy it is to lose control of one of these cars on one of these high-speed ovals. Because when you get behind a car, the front lifts off, you lose downforce basically. When you're in the drag of another car, when you're being dragged along, it's great because you start going faster. But of course, on a corner, you've got to be careful not to get too much drag. You've got to be sort of getting a little bit downforce still on the front. What happened to Stacey where was the car got loose on the front. The front just lifted up almost because it had no downforce. The wheels started turning too quickly, went to try and catch the spin, and then spun around. Big crash, easy to happen. It's such a skill to have to be able to just keep in a formation on these ovals. People don't realise how hard it is. But it is a very tricky thing to do, isn't it, Johnny?
Yeah, it is very hard. A lot of, I guess, people from all walks of life, I'm not going to say road racers or anyone in particular, but these cars are built very specifically, and the tracks that they race on are very specific too.
Yeah, well, to the road racers out there, one way of looking at it is when you try and follow a car through a very high downforce corner, you're going to struggle. You're going to have a lot of understeer. And it's a very similar thing that happens in these in NASCAR, in the Cup cars and in trucks, Xfinity and all the other series. You still have that issue present because it's just how aerodynamics work. Obviously, these cars are designed to run a bit better close up and to be able to run together as they do. But you still have some of that effect coming in. And it becomes very difficult to sit directly on the tail of somebody. If you move up slightly too much, if you're just a millimeter out of position, your car will just go loose on you, and all of a sudden you're in a big wreck.
Yeah, it's millimeter precision here, Carl.
It is indeed, and sometimes on these ovals, it doesn't look as we always say, it doesn't look that hard. But we would always recommend, if you think that and you are a sim racer, come and give it a go sometime because, boy, it is not easy. Gaining even a tenth of a second on these tracks is the difference between first to 20th. Sometimes it is not an easy right. It's not an easy drive, and you really do understand how tricky it is when you give it a go, because it's such a different form of racing from your sort of standard road racing principles. And of course, there's also the whole strategy aspect to oval racing, which is a very different thing again. Here at Kansas, it's very much a tyre sensitive track. So by lap 60, 70, your tires are almost falling apart. They're barely held together by anything. They're just bits of canvas by that stage. So you've got to work out when's a good time to stop. And sometimes rolling a dice early on in a caution like this, you might see a couple of people come in, maybe roll the dice for a pit stop. We've seen Rob Fletcher come in for a stop already, but I think that was for some repairs because there is quite a lot of damage to his car. You can actually see at the back of the car there of Rob Fletcher that missing almost the whole rear spoiler, and you can actually almost see the actual fuel hose now, thanks to the new graphics of the damage models. But there is so much going on in these races that your focus is drained so quickly. It's a very hard thing to do. All racing is hard. That's basically the way to say it. Is all racing is hard. There is no racing that's easy, I've got to say.
No, there's not, as the lights are out on the safety car, so we'll be going green this time by.
We will be, and we'll probably see that lightning restart from Jason Martin again. Now, this has allowed Danny G. He's now behind his teammate of Josh Micklemore. So Mitch Motorsport managed to get their cars relatively high. Hamish Gallagher behind him. Jason Martin does launch the car off, gets a great restart, but Hamish Gallagher reacts perfectly to that and has managed to get underneath Josh Micklemore. Will he be able to keep the position there? We'll see how this goes. As Josh Micklemore runs a little bit high, and that's allowed Gallagher to get on the tail of Jason Martin and slot himself into second place. You can see just behind him as well, Skerlock, and there is a big crash at the back, another crash at the back with Lachlan Robinson and Mark Johansson.
Let's go to replay here. Have a look what happened. Just the outside wall. There,
outside
the
wall,
other,
unfortunately.
a few cars everywhere.
Yeah, that really spread them out. Steve Hoppett involved in that one as well. Not the return to the Cup Series that he would have wanted. James Rowley as well has got some serious damage on that car. A few cars there that have got some damage on them, and that's not going to help them out for sure. Obviously, when you get damage on a speedway like this, you lose so much speed as well. The aero just drops off. And you just start losing that speed. It's a real sort of tricky situation. Looks like it was actually Steve Hoppett who got loose on the outside and went down from that top wall, and then a lot of cars collected him. We heard Steve over the radio through our comms just apologising for that one. It's easy to do, and sometimes it's just getting that rhythm built up as well. Now we've had a couple of false starts. Tyres are cold. Tyre pressures are low as well now because they're running around at these low speeds. And the old adage of cautions breed cautions, which I know I say a lot, but it is very true, does happen.
Yeah. Let's hope it's not a caution-filled race.
I hope not. No, it can sometimes be a bit tricky at the start here, just for people to get into their rhythm, and then once people start getting settled in a little bit, you get that nice long green flag stint, and then everything starts to run well until the midpoint of the race where tyres start to become a problem.
Yeah. Do you know in your ANZCAR history, car, what was the most yellow flags here at Kansas?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, stats like that, my brain does not remember, but we did have a race where I think we went to time. Well, we've had a couple of races where it's been time certain from cautions. As we go back to green, Jason Martin. Oh wait, we don't go back to green. Sorry, Jason Martin was putting his foot down. I was just busily not watching there. The pace car's lights are out. We're going to go back to green next lap. But generally on some of the smaller speedways, we've had almost a caution full race. That's happened a couple of times in the series. Kansas can be a bit like this, and it's why we're not seeing as many drivers out there tonight. Quite a few people use this as their drop round because, as we said before, it's not a favourite of many people.
Yeah, and we can see already why, as we see all the Mitch Motorsport cars on the bottom lining up there for this restart.
Yeah, they go 3 by 3 there on the bottom, the Mitch Motorsport boys, all line abreast now. And that might be a good thing for them. They might be able to get something done here. Hamish Gallagher's going to look to try and get a good restart with Michael Skurlock behind him. Bradley Allison as well, somebody that we've seen do very well this season. He's sitting there in 6th place, just ahead of Edward Foster in the in JP Simshed car, with Raymond Yeager just down below him. One of those drivers that is very, very quick. So we could see something from Allison as we're coming around. Pace car is coming in, and we're going to go back to green. And as predicted, Martin gets a very good restart, bringing along his teammates. And we see Gallagher starting to drop back a little bit.
Yeah, that inside line's just got that run on the restart, and Jace just seems to be really good at those restarts.
He is very good at leading away restarts. He's had a fair bit of practice at it. Jason Martin, he's got quite a few laps led under his belt. So if there's anyone out there that has got the experience on restarts, he's one of those people. And we've always seen it throughout the seasons. Jason Martin has been good at those restarts.
Yeah, it looks good that he could pull his teammate Josh through and up in front of Hamish there.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine they would have been on the blur to each other having a quick chat on that one, just trying to work out when to launch it. And they managed to launch it perfectly and get their cars up ahead. Now, Skurlock's trying to lower line at the moment. We've got a few cars sort of trying a few different lines at the moment, scrabbling around out there for grips, just seeing who can get the best line at the moment. At the early stages of this race, of course, the lines aren't quite set yet. There's still some options you can do. You can run a little bit lower, and sometimes, of course, running lower is the quicker way round, you say, because it's the shortest track possible. But you do obviously do a little bit more damage to your tyres doing that, as we see Edward Foster dropping down now.
Yeah, well, it's good to see the race is getting underway and a few green laps here so far.
You've done it now. Yes, it seems to be getting to that road.
Oh, tempt fate.
He's just going to play with fate, it seems.
Yep.
The good thing about this now is there's a couple of laps under the belts, and this is going to start getting those tyres back up to temperature for those drivers. The car will start handling a little bit easier. You'll start to know what little furballs the car has, and you'll sort of get used to how the car feels now. And this is what you need in a oval race, is those opening laps, to get a few laps under the belt just to get used to how the car's handling.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have the tyres up to temperature out there and to know what your car's like underneath you.
It is, and we can already start to hear, actually, just from watching Jason Martin, we're just lifting through turns 3 and 4 now already, this early into the race. That sort of tyre wear is starting to affect more and more, and you can just, the lap times are going to start going down and down and down quite quickly. And it's this kind of area where an early tyre stop can sometimes make a difference and get you up some positions. Everybody on the lead lap, though, is stop free at the moment. Nobody chose to stop under the caution, so they're all everybody on the lead lap is on the same tyre strategy at the moment.
Yeah, I think it'll be at least around lap 60 we'll see him coming, maybe a bit before. If they're trying to do undercut, if they're trying to do undercut, depending on how much the undercut is worth here tonight.
Yeah, I must say I'm surprised I didn't see anyone come in for a bit of a cheeky trial of getting some new tyres on that last caution. Although very early in the race, it could have made a little bit of difference if he were at the back, just rolling the dice a little bit, you could say. But of course, there are risks in that as well.
Yeah, if you're always one of those back drivers, you can always roll the dice. Yeah, we see Edward and Bradley Ellison go around the inside of Yeager there.
Absolute great run there from them. Danny Albin as well, just a fantastic run there as Marco Dortnack goes into the wall hard into the right front. Very hard hit on Mirko there. He managed to keep the car straight, but that's not going to do the car much good for the race.
No, it's not going to do much good for him at all. Unfortunate right there. As we see Bradley Elson looking to go under Edward Foster here. He's looking quite racy out there tonight, and I know he's been putting a lot of practice and effort into all his races this year and all the pre-practice for the races.
We've seen Bradley Allison get some good results and sit quite high up in the running this season. One of the new drivers, one of the rookies of this season, and he's been putting in some fantastic results, and he has got some scary pace sometimes. It's always scary when somebody is fast out the box. As Josh Micklemore makes the pass for first place, as we're watching the battle at the back, Josh Micklemore's managed to get in front of his teammate Jason Martin, and it looks like Skurlock's going down the inside of Danny G at the moment. So movement at the front of the field as well. We've got racing.
Yeah, we've got Hamish Gallagher trying to squeeze up the inside Jason Martin here.
Gallagher placing his car well. He might get this. He's got a good run off the corner there. Just depends on this run off speed. Jason Martin's just a nose ahead at the moment, and Gallagher pulls back up inside there. But while they're all fighting at the front, this is allowing the cars to catch up as they go 3 wide with Foster, Allison, and Danny G there for a couple of moments. It looked like they were going to try 4 wide there across the start-finish line, which would be very scary here at Kansas. Very, very close racing there, but Foster's managed to launch himself up, and he's now chasing down Skurlock. Although he's had to step out of the draft, and that's allowed Allison to get back at him.
Yeah, good little battle going on here. And Allison is currently looking for a team if anyone's out there looking for a new driver. I said that last broadcast, but I'll say it again, as we see him with no paint on again this week.
Yes, I'm sure some teams have got their eye on him because he is definitely showing some good pace, and there are a few teams out there that are bolstering their numbers. A few new drivers here and there for them. Got to mention Danny Albin, of course, Pace Syndicate, I believe. New driver in the Cup Series as well. So a few new drivers just creeping in, a few new teams. So they are starting to grow in numbers, and we are starting to see some teams forming with some very good little drivers under their belts.
Yeah, well, every team has to start somewhere.
But it's nice if you can start in the lead.
Sure.
Which is one of those things that Mitch Motorsports pretty much managed. They didn't have the most successful season last year, but they did have a very successful intro into this series. Being the team that they are of Micklemore, Martin and Danny G, they very strong lineup there. And we've seen it this season with JP Suchet as well, getting a few wins. First win of the year, of course, went to them. A great way to enter a series if you can get a win right out the box.
Yeah, it's always the best way to show up in a new team and show them off, is roll in and get all your sponsors and your team a win.
That's it. As we see a great battle between Danny G, Michael Skurlock and Foster now. Skurlock managed to just roll up the inside of Danny G and just get in front of him, and that's allowed Foster to have a good run here. Danny G just dropping down the pack a little bit. Foster's still running that low line. He seems to be quite happy with it down there, and seems to be able to carry some speed through there still. As we get a car off in the background. No caution triggered as I furiously click through. trying to work out who that was, but can't do it. But luckily, the caution didn't trigger. They just lost it going through turns 2 and turn 2, but managed to keep the car out of the wall enough and get back on the track before a caution flag could come out. So that's good to see, because we're getting some really spicy racing out there at the moment.
Yeah, it's been some really good racing out here tonight so far.
As we see Jason Martin now going down the inside, trying to get past Josh Mickelmore. They're trying his best to get through there.
Yeah, who knows, Jason could be using a tactic to save tyres and save his car up at the moment. We talked to him, he talked about it in the pre-race interviews last week about how they practice saving all their gear until they need it. And that really helped them last week, so maybe they've done the same thing here this week.
Yeah, they've definitely got some good drivers under them for working out these kind of things, and they might be just playing around with position just for fuel saving methods as well, of course, because the lead car does chew through its fuel a little bit quicker than the rest.
With Edward here.
Foster having a good race tonight. He's leading up the charge for JP Sinclair boys. Still chasing down Danny G. Danny G's managed to get a little bit of distance now. He's just keeping Bradley Allison just behind him at the moment.
Yeah.
So Mickelmore still leads, getting a good runner at the moment out the front with Martin behind him, Gallagher and Michael Skurlock just sitting on the back of that train. Skurlock having a very strong season so far, and again just showing that, just keeping up in that sort of top area. We've seen very good drives from a few of these drivers where they've just been very competitive and just able to keep in the top 10 all through the season, which has been really quite helpful.
Yeah, has been quite helpful for those.
And it will help, especially coming up to the chase at the end of the year, and everybody, of course, fighting to get into that this season and trying their best to get a few wins under their belt, of course, because obviously that gives you the confidence when you do get into the chase at the end of the year for that championship. And it's all calmed down here at Kansas. Everything's just started to relax a little bit as we go out there. We've still got Mickelmore in the lead with Martin behind him. I believe we're having a couple of technical issues just on our on broadcast at the moment, so we apologise in advance for those. As Edward Foster's gone round at the back. Foster has gone round. Allison was just going up underneath him, and just looks like they might have... Foster just tapped the wall and just went down into Bradley Allison. Bradley Allison came out very bad from that. He went into the lower wall very hard. Cars aren't looking too damaged. Foster's got a bit of damage on the left front as well. It looks like, just as I say, Foster just caught the outside wall just a little bit, and the closeness of those cars just caused that incident to happen. But we've got the caution out on lap 35. Which is unfortunate, as Hamish Gallagher has actually managed to sit himself just ahead of Jason Martin now. He did actually make the pass, so he's got himself up into second at the moment. So good run from Gallagher. Josh Mickelmore still in the lead with Jason Martin in third, and Skurlock fourth. So they're all going to come into the pit lane this time round, I imagine, and they definitely do. So it's going to be the race off pit lane. So everybody's going to be hoping to make their marks correct, hoping to sit properly in their positions and not miss their pit boxes. So we'll see how they all go. As Gallagher misses his pit box, he just had to reverse for that one. So Gallagher just misses his pit box by a couple of millimeters, and that's going to cost him dearly here for sure. We see Micklemore away, and yes, indeed, Gallagher has dropped back quite a few positions, fallen all the way back past Raymond Yeager. So dropped down to 6th position from that little mistake there. Everybody else managed to get on their marks pretty well in that one. But that was a big loss for Gallagher. He's going to be kicking himself about that one. Micklemore just absolutely perfect on that one. All three of the Mitch Motorsport boys, in fact, did really well. Another driver to do very well under that pit stop was Skurlock. He's running up in 3rd position now, I believe. And hopefully we should be getting our graphics back very shortly. Seems like things might start. We'll play around, hope maybe get them working. If not, we will carry on nonetheless. So Micklemore does lead with Jason Martin behind him. Skurlock 3rd, Danny G 4th, Raymond Yeager 5th. 6th is Hamish Gallagher, Barry Neal 7th, 8th Norman Clark. Very good stop for Clark there. Lackland has also managed to get up for the JP Simshed boys up into 9th place, making 10 positions. And then 10th is Danny Albin on his debut here tonight. So good result for him so far. Obviously, Foster and Allison have dropped down a fair bit because of that incident and the damage taken by that. So they're right at the back of the train at the moment. So they'll probably jump in for some repairs, I imagine, during this caution period, just to get some things back working on that car. And looks like we're back to having graphics. So thank you for bearing with us with that one. Thank you to all of our viewers for that, for keeping with us there. And also, we've got to thank as well, while we're under caution, Track Cams for Gourmet. Absolute brilliant track pack options and giving us these beautiful views tonight here at Kansas. You can, of course, get your own at trackcams22.com. That's trackcams22.com. Absolutely fantastic camera angles, great for broadcasting. If you do any sort of sim broadcasting, things like that, well worth looking into. But pace car lights are out, lap 38. We're going to go back under green shortly with Josh Micklemore leading his teammate Jason Martin. As they come down the back straight again. Won't be long until we go back to green flag racing, and I will traditionally shut my mouth for that one and let the cars lead us away. We'll get a beautiful sound as they all rev those fantastic V8s, those very, very eco-friendly V8s that they have in these cars off the line. So pace car will be coming in very shortly as Josh Micklemore leads us away. And we're back to green here at Kansas as Michael Skurlock was like a greased whippet off the start line there, getting up into second place. Now he might be battling with Jason Martin. Jason Martin might be getting back at him now. Having to run that lower line is not the best place to be, but he is managing to keep it there so far. He's dropping back and he's going to drop in behind Martin, but a brilliant restart for Skurlock there. Must have put the... really taken the driver's eye off the ball, just him coming up so quickly. And everybody is away safely, it seems. So we're back to green flag racing here at Kansas. And there's a few beaten up cars through the pack now as well, and this is going to start throwing things out a little bit. We've got Phil Otto in 10th at the moment, who has got a little couple bits of damage on the car, and he's just starting to struggle a little bit to keep pace with a couple of other guys around him. He's managed to keep it in 10th at the moment, but there are a few cars that have got damage, so expect to see them start to struggle as these runs go on. We might see some cars coming up the order if they've been repaired, or dropping down a little bit despite how high they are. Another driver to really benefit on that restart was Norman Clark, getting up to 7th place. A brilliant restart for Norman there. As the snake starts to form here at Kansas with Micklemore leading, everybody else just sitting behind him, just getting into that lovely bit of broken air behind him, getting dragged along and keeping their speeds up as Micklemore punches the hole for him. The sort of back half of the field are all racing now as a pack two. There's a sort of multiple little battle packs forming, as a few drivers drive around with battered cars trying to keep it in the race now, which is quite difficult. One driver doing that is Edward Foster, the last car on the lead lap. He is currently lapping quite a bit slower than the rest due to the damage on board. About half a second slower than the rest of the field as well. So he's going to have a bit of a tough time tonight.
Yeah, it definitely is, Carl. It's never good once you get out there and you know the car's damage beyond reasonable repair and you're losing time.
It's never fun having to drag around a damaged car. It's never an enjoyable experience. Even though it can pay off sometimes, of course, because you can still get some good finishes here. You never know what's going to happen in racing. You could easily lose another 10, 15 cars and find yourself up there in the top 10, despite all the damage you're currently carrying.
Yes, that's for sure. You never want to give up either when you're racing. You want to always try to be out there as long as you can and push as hard as you can.
Absolutely, it's one of those things. Sometimes it feels like it's absolutely hopeless, but then all of a sudden you end up finishing in a good spot, and you go, "How the heck did that happen?" We've seen that a few times in the series where people have come across the line not realizing how far up they are. But really, just got to mention, to say, Norman Clark, absolutely brilliant restart there, and he's managed to drag himself up a fair few positions as well, 8 positions. Up the order. He started 15th, he's currently 7th now. So he's managed to work his way up through the carnage as it's carried on, and he's going to hopefully try and keep on those positions. Car's looking relatively clean, a couple of bumps at the back, but not too much damage. He's chasing down Raymond Yeager, who's another driver that's looking good for this race. He's been having some good races this season, Yeager. Been putting the car up there in the top 10 quite a bit, and he's managed to get some good speed, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's good to see for him that he's been able to put the car up there and have the pace, stay around with those other guys around him.
And it is one of those things that we like to see in this series as well, is Raymond's been with us for, I think, since the start even, and always had some flashes of pace here and there, but this year he's been managing to consistently get up there, which is great to see. It's always nice to see when you get to watch drivers build their confidence and start to get those higher position finishes all through the seasons. It's something we've seen with a few drivers through the years, and it is always an enjoyable thing to see. as Josh Mickelmore gets ever so close to the barrier again.
Yeah, Josh is running quite close there to the barrier tonight.
He is. It's almost like one of those carnival acts with the motorcycles on a cage, the ball of death, riding the walls of death on those ones. He's really keeping it out there, almost doing the Martinsville trick of just running the car on the barrier itself. Obviously, doesn't work here quite as well, being a bit faster.
No, it definitely doesn't.
I was just flicking through the order. Another car that's had a good recovery is Shea Thompson, getting up to 10th now. Shea got sort of slightly caught up in a bit of an incident earlier on and managed to get from 20th to 10th. So another good drive from Shea Thompson. Seen leading a couple of races this season and having some really good runs. And another name to mention as well is Danny Albon. First race in the series and in 9th place, qualified 9th, sitting 9th. That's a pretty decent achievement to have, especially here at Kansas. It's quite hard to keep your position after qualifying sometimes.
Yeah, it can be quite difficult out here to keep that position after qualifying, so good job on him.
As we see Hamish Gallagher just giving a little bit of a nibble towards the wall there. I think maybe just caught the front slightly. So these drivers running extremely close to the walls now.
Yeah, edging ever so closer to that wall as you see. If you're trying to brake for that inside runner to see Jason Martin go down, trying to get underneath Skurlock, but he may... Sorry, Mickelmore, but he may get past Skurlock here. Skurlock gets a better run.
Skurlock looking good. He's got that high line again, and that seems to be working as the race goes on. He's managed to get under the drag effect of Mickelmore, and this could bring him up past Martin, and it has done. Skurlock is going to make this move stick by the looks of it. Martin's going to have to slot in just behind Skurlock here.
Yeah, Jason seems to have really good pace at the beginning of the run, but I'm not sure if it's falling off a little bit for him during the run or if he's trying to save stuff to the end of the run here.
It's always hard to say, isn't it, really? It's are you playing the long game or are you just sitting there? It's, in all honesty, there's not much to lose at the moment in those sort of top 4 spots because he's got 2 teammates with him in that top 4 position. Skurlock is really the fly in the ointment for the Mitch Motorsport team at the moment. Just sitting there and keeping that team slightly broken apart so they can't run away with it. And this could mean that Martin has to race a little bit harder to try and get past Skurlock and use up a little bit more tyre as he tries to get a run that time round across the start-finish line, but doesn't make it stick as Skurlock positions his car really well. And Mickelmore's still in the lead, as we say. Hamish Gallagher's managing to catch up to Danny G now. And then there's a little bit of a gap to Norman Clark with Raymond Yeager and Barry Neal behind them. So we've got some gaps forming. We've got a couple of different packs running as well now, especially with some of the drivers that have been in a few incidences and a few moments. And I can't imagine it's going to be... I would say it would probably be about another 10-15 laps before we start catching the real big lap traffic as Skurlock makes a move down the inside of Mickelmore. Is he going to make it stick here or is he going to lose a few positions? We will soon find out on this one. He doesn't make it stick as Mickelmore comes down. But he manages to keep Martin behind him.
Yeah, high line seems to be really working there for Skurlock at the moment. He's been really getting some good runs coming out of the corners on Mickelmore.
Yeah, he looks really feisty out there tonight. He's definitely coming out to play, which is what we like to see. And he's definitely taking the race to these guys as well as he keeps up high to block Martin this time round. He sort of saw that one coming and he might get a run on Micklemore coming round to the next set of corners, as we see Hamish Gallagher getting a run on Danny G now. Still doesn't quite make it stick. He just doesn't have the speed, it seems. As Josh Micklemore just has to ease off a little bit more on that corner. To see it just lose a little bit of time visually to the cars behind, just as he got a little bit high. He's managed to keep the position, but this is giving Jason Martin the run on Skurlock.
Yeah, there's a few different lines being played out there at the moment. As you can see, there's cars having to check up a little bit to let other cars back in at the moment.
And that's not always an easy thing to do. Of just having to lift off a little bit, let the car roll a little bit, just so you don't have a crash. Again, it's one of those skills that is hard to sort of master. As we see Skurlock just keeping high again across the start-finish line, just coming in a little bit lower down the first couple of corners, and it seems to be working for him at the moment. He seems to definitely have the speed advantage as he comes out of turn 2 onto that back straight.
Yeah, they're all starting to bunch up now here, the top 5, and getting ever so slightly closer to Josh.
Yeah, it's going to be there's going to be some panel rubbing at this rate. They're getting very, very close together. The top 5 covered by, well, 0.14 of a second, which is nothing at all. It's barely a blink of your eyes, which is just jaw-dropping to see. These guys are really racing hard at the moment.
Yeah, they're putting it all out on the line, and we're 63 laps in. Excuse me.
Yeah, the race is starting to chug along a little bit now. So we've got, it's a full race is 133 laps, so we're not halfway yet. Still a bit of this race to go. And obviously, if it remains like this, we'll see some green flag pit stops, and that could be fascinating. Just to see the different strategies involving around green flag stops if we manage to get them.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how different drivers and different teams work their strategies. You see the yellow.
And caution is out as Robert Fletcher has gone round, I think. Yeah, Robert Fletcher's gone around on turn number... on the tri-oval, actually. So, just losing it across the tri-oval. Just going mid-line across the tri-oval, which is a place you don't want to be, and then has lost it and not managed to recover the car. He did try and get it off the line and safely park it, but unfortunately the caution did come out. So good driving by Fletcher not to have a bigger crash. That could have been a very big one there. But unfortunately caution has come out. So these drivers are going to be pretty happy about that. That's going to give them a chance to rest a little bit, have a quick sip of the drinks bottle if they need one, and possibly even come in for a stop.
Yes, it would be interesting to see what happens.
Well, pit stops were 30 laps ago, so in all honesty, I can't see anyone staying out, as tyres will be valuable at this stage of the race. I imagine we're going to see everybody darting into the pit lane and having another race off pit exit.
Who are we going to see coming out first, Carl?
I've got to say Micklemore, he's been very strong tonight, and from those last pit stops it's been strong, but Skurlock as well. Skurlock had a blinder of a stop last time round and jumped up a few positions. We could see him possibly ruffling a few feathers as they all come into their stops, as they easily creep in there, and it looks like everybody's hit their marks perfectly. Now it's just who did it the fastest. That's always the tricky bit. Who got it perfectly set up? As we see Micklemore get away nicely, and Skurlock as well. But looks like Micklemore just made it out in front of Skurlock. Half a nose in it there. So Micklemore in the lead still with Skurlock behind him. So 14.6 for Micklemore, 14.8 for Scullock, and 15.1 for Martin there. So yeah, very quick stops by Micklemore and Scullock there. They hit their marks perfectly. I was going to mention actually, it did look like Jason Martin was just gingerly coming into the actual lane. He wasn't quite fully on it, which is a fair enough thing. You know, it's easy to lose positions in these pit stops. Another thing as well, actually, is if we do jump on board Josh Micklemore, sounds like he might be fuel saving. So definitely Micklemore has got the. Sounds like he's just running it on the clutch, switching the engine off as he's going around a couple of times, just keeping enough speed in there to keep up behind the pace car. So a little bit of fuel saving for Micklemore here. That's interesting to see this early in the race.
Yeah, he could just be doing what a lot of the drivers do out there, which in these type of situations, which is running around in fourth gear under caution, which is what I tend to do anyway, just to keep the RPMs down and that engine from revving high and using more fuel.
Yeah, it's he's keeping it very low at the moment, so there's hardly any revs in there. So he's definitely in fuel saving mode, and he seems to be the only one doing it at the moment. Because having a bit of a listen to the other cars around us, they're putting a little bit more gas in there than anyone else. So just an interesting thing to see this early in the race. You know, we kind of expect to see this if they're maybe planning not to have another stop. Don't think we could go all the way from here for Josh Micklemore if we go green. Quickly grabbing the calculator out just to do some maths. So
yeah, I was gonna say, don't ask me, Carl. I'm not a calculator.
No, he can make it. So that might be why he's doing it. He can just about make it on fuel. So he might be just doing that little bit of fuel saving. Just if we do go green here, he will just be able to scrape it past the flag, while some others might struggle a little bit. It's going to be close though.
We'll definitely be close here. But we still got over half the race to do.
We do, yes. 65 laps to go, I think. So a long way still to go, and that's optimistic for a green flag run, I'd say. But you never know. You can't count on these things.
No, it's better to be expecting the worst and expect the best and prepare for the worst.
Absolutely. As pace car comes in, and we're going to go back to green flag racing with Josh Micklemore leading the way. And a fantastic restart again from Josh Micklemore. Skurlock's managed to keep it there as well. Jason Martin tries to the inside. He goes down quite quick. Skurlock manages to block him off though, but he has unsettled the car a little bit. He might lose a little speed down the back straight here.
Yeah, it's quite a sporadic move there, which upset all the car.
Yeah, very aggressive there, and a very good move to actually keep Jason Martin off the back there and keep the car in control, in all honesty. That was a bit of a brutal block, you can say, but it was well done. Skurlock has managed to keep in second place, and he is definitely defending it hard. As Martin continues to try to go down that inside line, trying to harass Skurlock, trying to force him to go offline, and trying to force him to go defensive, which is going to cost him time, of course. So Skurlock, if he goes to try and fight with Jason Martin, he's going to start losing time to Josh Micklemore. But of course, he could lose a position to Jason Martin. So it's really trying to choose that battle and work out what's going to work for you. But at the moment, you've got to say Skurlock has the speed.
Yeah, definitely.
As we cross to lap 73 of this race, and Micklemore is still in a pretty decisive lead at the moment. Jason Martin gets one heck of a run. He's got some serious speed down the inside this time, but he can't make it stick. And he still just can't make it stick, but he did manage to get a couple of tenths on Skurlock that lap. As Skurlock starts to look at the back of Micklemore now, and that might put him in a bad position. Jason Martin goes down the inside. Micklemore has just slowed Skurlock down a little bit from that attempted pass. This could be Martin's chance. He has to fall back in line, but will he be able to get this done across the tri-oval? They're close again, but Martin can't get it done. He just needs that little bit of extra speed. He's almost trying to push the car along. You can just imagine him rocking back and forward in the seat, just trying to get that car to go a little bit faster. It's just 1 mile per hour, the difference you need to get past. It is a ridiculously small margin. As we see Hamish Gallagher and a couple of others battling at the back, we've got a few drivers having a good battle at the back, with Stephen Williams working his way up the order. He's now in 8th place. Brilliant drive for Williams. Bradley Allison sitting in 7th. He's still having a good drive. Norman Clark up to 6th now, chasing down Hamish Gallagher. So we could see Norman Clark up there soon as well, having a great run this race. Danny G still sat in 4th place, but the battle is on at the front, as they are all across the circuit trying to find every tenth they can. Martin now trying for the inside move. He seems to have it sticking. He's got some speed as they're side by side as they come into the corner. But Martin isn't going to make that one work as he falls behind Micklemore once again. Behind Skurlock once again.
Yeah, great racing here at the moment, Carl.
This is the exact kind of racing we want to see. It is so close and seat of your pants racing, really. It is very close out there in millimetre perfect driving from these guys. Absolutely fantastic to see. And that battle for the lead is still on very much from these guys. They are very much pushing it as hard as they can. Skurlock is not giving up on that trying to get first place. Meanwhile, Martin is still not giving up on that second place. He tries again for the inside. Will he get it to stick this time? No, it doesn't look like it. Just doesn't have that speed on that inside line that some other drivers have managed to carry through tonight. As Stephen Williams in the background makes a good move on Bradley Allison, working his way up the field as well. Another driver that is doing well this season, Stephen Williams. Again, a driver that has switched teams through the season and doing his best so far. He's having a very good run up there in the DPR Ben Max Motorsport car. Again, another strong run from Williams. He's just climbing up there again, as action is starting to heat up all across this oval at the moment.
Yes, interesting. It's still early on, but there's definitely a lot of action out there.
Yeah, we are by no means close to the finish yet. You're not going to win this race with a move now, but you can sure as heck lose it. But that doesn't stop these guys from fighting. as Hamish Gallagher is right on the back of Danny G, and we see Skurlock going down the inside of Micklemore this time. Will he make it stick? It looks like he may. Has to lift off mid-corner. This could give Jason Martin the chance. He's going to try and take it. Skurlock comes up and manages to come across Martin's nose. Brilliant defensive driving there from Skurlock. He's lost time to Micklemore, but has managed to keep that second position.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome driving it there at the moment, Carl.
That was one heck of a move, and just the fact that Skurlock managed to keep the car looking so stable through there is, it just speaks to skill, really.
Yeah, all these guys out here tonight, and all their ANZCAR drivers have a lot of skill. Some of the best of the best, and just goes to show.
Yeah, most of them are still very young, which is annoying, but they've got years of experience behind them. And one of the things, of course, sim racing is you can build up that experience quite quickly, despite your age. And you know, these guys have got quite a lot of experience, especially on the oval racing aspect of things, and they're really showing it tonight, especially up the front. We got some battles going on down around 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, as cars are all over the place down the tri-oval down there. It's just where to look at the moment, trying to figure out which battle is best to watch, because it's hard to choose, really.
Yeah, there's racing going on everywhere, Carl, and you've been covering it very well. I've just been sitting here listening to you go, mate. You've been doing well.
Got eyes across all the track most of the time. Great battle in 11th with Tristan Koch managing to keep Raymond Yeager behind him. They go 3 wide across the tri-oval as Tristan Koch manages to keep in the lead just behind Danny Albon, but it looks like Lackland is going to get it. Lackland goes out on the outside. He goes into the wall, and we might get a caution here as Raymond Yeager goes down. He manages to keep the car somehow. Tristan Koch is well involved in that, manages to keep the car going straight. Does come back on the oval, manages to miss a whole heap of cars, but we remain caution-free. That was almost a huge incident there.
Yeah, it could have been a big change for strategies and everything right there in that second.
That was one of those moments where you would have clenched rather hard, I imagine. It was a scary moment for those guys.
Yeah, it definitely would have been a scary moment in those cars.
And it wouldn't have been too comfortable on the old wrists as well, of using drive wheels, things like that. It's amazing how much pressure gets put into the arms on these cars. One of those other things we talk about, although obviously sim racing is not quite as physical as real racing. You don't have the G-force going through you constantly, but the pressure it puts on your arms and just the constant battering of the force feedback sometimes can really, really take it out of you, can't it?
Yeah, definitely can. I have a direct drive wheel and set up from hybrid racing simulation. And, definitely take it out of you on the long run.
And even with the relatively weak G27s and things like that, it's enough to really give you a workout sometimes. That's been my routine through quarantine, is doing a couple of laps or a couple of rallies in a couple of racing games, and it's giving me quite a good workout, and definitely giving the arms a good flexing. As Jason Martin goes back down the inside again, he's trying his best to get past Skurlock, but just can't make it happen. As we come across the tri-oval one more time for lap number 90, they go down low. Martin keeps up high. This might leave it open for his teammate, as Danny G is now sitting behind him. We've got a good little pack up at the front. Norman Clark's currently sitting in 6th, with Stephen Williams catching in 7th place. But from there, it's not much between these guys. There's less than a second between the sort of top 6 at the moment. They are really running hard as it looks like Danny G's making a move on his teammate, but this is giving Hamish Gallagher a chance across the tri-oval. They start to go 3 wide here. Martin's got the outside line. Danny G goes down the inside. Is he going to make it stick? He has to slot in behind his teammate, and this gives Hamish Gallagher a run on him. Is Hamish Gallagher going to get back in front of Martin? He's looking okay, yeah, side by side, him and Danny G at the moment. Very close racing. But Danny G seems to keep it on the outside, seems to keep the speed up. Got his teammate in front of him, giving him a little bit of a tow. And that has left Hamish Gallagher back in the position he started in, but a lot closer to Norman Clark.
Yeah, we'll let Bellina hold them up and bring more cars into the battle.
And it's allowed our leaders to break away a little bit as well. Josh Mickelmore and Skurlock have managed to get a little bit of a gap over the guys behind them. So they're starting to pull away a little bit as they start squabbling back there. And this is the trouble when you start fighting out on track like this, is you can start losing positions quite quickly and you can lose time even quicker.
Yeah, it's easy to lose time, hard to make time.
If we knew how to make time in racing, we'd be very rich men, I imagine. As Mickelmore keeps out in the lead, he's been having an extremely strong race tonight. Again, not to put the old curse on him, but was definitely fast in qualifying, definitely one of the drivers to watch tonight, him and Martin. Skurlock has managed to jump up there though, and is really showing a strong form tonight in that Pace Syndicate car, his new team of course. We saw Skurlock in the Polka Dot Special at the beginning of the year when Illusion wrapped up their racing division. Now in Pace Syndicate, Skurlock is having a fantastic race in the 380. 350,
Yeah.
sorry.
We're starting to see Jace and Martin come back a little bit on the back of Skurlock here.
Yeah, he's still got speed in that car. You know, you sort of see Jason Martin dropping back by a second, and all of a sudden he's right back up there. That just shows the pace he's got underneath him. The trouble is, Kansas is not an easy track to pass on. It is a very tricky track. The force on these cars, because they're going so fast, they just want to. You just have to stick them to that outside wall almost, and that makes running the inside line so much slower. Almost a bit like a centrifuge. You just can't get anything done on that inside line sometimes, and it's quite frustrating.
Yeah, it can be very frustrating as a driver being just stuck there behind someone.
You do get very sick of the rear of their car very quickly, don't you?
Yeah, you get sick of looking at their sponsors.
As again, Martin makes a little look down the inside, just trying to put Skurlock off that line. Skurlock doesn't bite this time. He's just staying there behind Mickelmore, just keeping glued to that tail. They do step out a little bit just so they don't lose too much speed. Mickelmore is just in the wall there. Just the slightest of scrapes there. Nothing in it really, but definitely rubbed a little bit of paint off that right rear.
Yeah, just seeing now Jason fall back again.
Yeah, it's the tail of the race really. It's falling back and falling forwards, isn't it? There's not much between these cars.
No, they're all just kind of sitting stern in line at the moment.
They are, and you know, if the method was in it for iRacing, the right rear of Mickelmore would no longer have the tyre manufacturer's logo on it. He was that close to the wall; it was just rubbing that tyre logo off.
Maybe one day, Carl. Maybe one day.
Got to leave those kiss marks on the wall. It's an important feature of racing. Shows how committed you are.
Definitely.
But there is time to be found up against that barrier, of course. It sort of acts like a car in front of you almost. It does reduce the drag a little bit when you get up close to the wall. You get a slight drafting effect, and it does help with speeds of these cars, of course.
Yeah, we always see the guys tip right up against that wall, even at pretty much at all their race tracks, just on the backstretch. It just gives that car a bit of a.
And so, Jono, we've got our first pit in the green, and that's Norman Clark. He has come in on lap 100. Norman Clark is in the pit lane.
Yeah, something happened. Something was going on there with Josh because everyone caught him real quick.
Maybe those tyres are just starting to fall off a little bit as they go. Just starting to run out of rubber a little bit as Jason Martin gets a great run on Skurlock this time round. He might be able to make this one stick, and it looks like he has.
Yeah.
With Danny G just sitting out there, Skurlock is just dropping a fair few positions now. He's fallen into that trap of getting into the wrong position on the track, and is just falling back. I wonder if we're going to see him coming into pit lane this time round.
Possibly, Carl. Maybe that's why he's dropped down, because there was room for him to come. Oh, okay, he's going to make me eat my words.
Looks like he might have just slightly faked a stop there. It just looked like he was trying to fake a stop almost, as much as he can at, almost 300 kilometers per hour. But maybe he's thinking about it in the next couple of laps.
Because there's room for him to get back up on that high line, but he's not.
And now he does. He snaps up in front of Williams as Micklemore just loses a bit of speed again. It just sounded like he had to lift off a little bit more than usual that time round. The tail was just not quite happy on the car. Maybe these cars are just starting to get a little bit leery out there.
Yeah, and having someone pushing you is always going to help losing that rear end up through the corners.
Yeah, the cars do not like it when they get unsettled, but it does make it quicker sometimes. Of course, it is another skill in oval racing is pushing it, as we see Micklemore drop down, and Martin is going to get past along with possibly Danny G here. Micklemore has just dropped down and looks like he's just let Martin through there. Bit of strategy play, maybe. Maybe this is the fuel-saving strategy coming into play right now.
Yeah, possibly, maybe that's why Skurlock dropped off too, because those guys have been up front for a fair while going back and forth, so maybe they used up a bit of their stuff and now they're going into conservation mode.
Just having to get the car into a fuel economy mode, which is not fun in these NASCARs. The Cup cars don't like it in economy mode. They much rather you just go full flat all the time than sit there saving fuel. They're not ones for conservation, are they?
Definitely not, Carl. Excuse me.
If a NASCAR could have its way, it would kick a badger while it was soaring down a tree firing off fireworks. It's not a very efficient car, but it's a fun one. As Stephen Williams has managed to get his way up into fourth now, Hamish Gallagher in second. So yeah, these guys have really changed their positions around. We've seen the leaders drop down to the back of this pack. So obviously wanting to save some fuel must surely be the case there. Skurlock doing it early, pulling the trigger a little bit earlier, might have been a wise move for him. That might be a decision that could win him this race if they do try and go to the end.
Yeah, it might be. We'll see. We got about 25 laps to go here.
Coming to the end of this race now. Norman Clark is one lap down now, but he is almost fresh tyres, so he is going around much faster than most of the others. We're seeing some other cars come in. Phil Otto's coming to the pit lane. A few others are stopping as well, so we're seeing some strategies being split. And in comes Jason Martin and Danny G. So it looks like we're seeing a big split as Skurlock gets past Josh Micklemore. and is now chasing down Stephen Williams and Hamish Gallagher.
Yeah, it looks like Micklemore may just let him by there. Maybe he's thinking about coming into pits, as we do see Shea Thompson coming up on the rear of him very quick as well.
And Stephen Williams is coming into the pit lane now. No, he misses his position. Stephen Williams, that was a disaster for Williams. He came into pits but missed his mark and had to abandon that stop, and that has cost him a lot of time.
It's easy enough to do out there when you're flying along flat out, but never fun.
No, it does make you feel like a bit of a donkey sometimes. It's not fun to have happen. Hamish Gallagher is very much in fuel-saving mode. Just heard his engine cutting out there as he was going round the corner, just lifting off completely. So I think Hamish Gallagher's going to look and stick out here for as long as he can, maybe. Yep, cutting the engine off as he goes into the corners, trying to save as much fuel as possible now. And Norman Clark now is a second lap faster than the leaders, so yeah, that stop does make a difference. Shea Thompson just gets into the wall there, has a little nibble of it, but keeps the car going straight. This is where accidents can happen, though, because we've got cars that are running at very slow pace out there to keep on the lead lap, while other cars are going very fast.
Yeah, it's always an interesting time. And quite a dangerous one too.
It is, and yeah, Hamish Gallagher is definitely switching the engine off as it goes around the corners there. Just going back to listen to a few others as we see Jason Martin getting the lap back on Josh Micklemore there. These guys have really split the strategy. Less than 20 odd laps to go. This is going to be an interesting one. Are these guys that are fuel saving going to make it to the end? If a caution comes out, they could be looking quite good. It's really going to throw things up. But currently, the guy that's looking in a very good position is Norman Clark because of that early pit stop. He's got Danny G and Jason Martin chasing him down now, but he is going to probably gain a few positions from this. If it remains green. So we'll have to see how this one runs out as Clark goes up and trying to get past Shea Thompson as one of the drivers that is doing the fuel saving technique just gets absolutely eaten up by those drivers that have stopped already. You can see the difference in speed as they come up to Hamish Gallagher now as well and fly past Gallagher and Skurlock. So they are really flying their way through. Norman Clark there as they go 3 wide. And this is where a caution can come out quite quickly. At the moment, Danny G is the guy leading the charge for Mitch Motorsport, and he's effectively race leader if these guys have to pit. But how long are they going to last out there on fuel if they're having to switch off the engine already to fuel save? Are they going to make it another 19 laps to the end of this race?
That's more than I can tell you at this point, Carl, but normally when you're flicking off the engine there, it's getting pretty desperate.
It is a sign of desperation for sure. Just going back to listen to some other drivers, Skurlock is definitely clutching it around the corners, not lifting off quite as much as Gallagher and Thompson, who are literally just turning the engines off as they go around. It looks like Thompson might be coming in this time round, and yes, Thompson's coming into the pits.
Yeah, I'm still sitting here watching Josh Micklemore. I'm interested to see how his rest of the races plays out with him, if he's able to save or not, because he was out there pushing the air for so long.
Well, we did say when the caution came out, he was switching that engine off and really fuel saving in that caution. I personally don't think he'll be able to save enough fuel to get it to the end. But I have been proven wrong in the past by drivers. Not something that is that uncommon. But currently Hamish Gallagher is the one that's keeping the pace out front, and probably in the best position because was sitting so far back in that pack early on. Probably has a bit more fuel than those guys.
Yes, in that draft.
So everybody that's stopped for fuel at the moment, and of course new tyres are setting laps 3 seconds a lap faster at the moment. Of course those speeds will go down a little bit, but not by too much. Danny G is currently about 22 seconds off the lead, so he's going to start catching them towards the end of the race. So this could be interesting. I think we'll see. These guys have to stay out now. They have no choice other than staying out if they want to get a decent finish. With the laps to go, though, it's going to be close if they catch the leaders. It's going to be a sort of last couple of laps thing. But it's really who can do it on fuel. And you've got to say, Mickelmore is probably in the worst position at the moment, being the car that's furthest down from those guys on the low fuel loads. He's going to start getting his teammates catching up with him in probably about 5 laps, I'd say. So he's only got 5 more laps until those teammates that pitted catch up to him. So this might not be the right call for Josh Mickelmore.
No, we'll have to see how this all plays out for him.
And Raymond Jaeger's on a bit of a charge at the moment as well. I've actually lost all my lovely timing and scoring, but I don't know if Jaeger's actually stopped a little bit earlier on, and that's why he's got a bit of a charge. Okay, so look. Okay, so Jaeger's 0.3 of a second faster than Gallagher. Similar pit strategies though, so maybe Jaeger's managed to just save some more fuel than everybody else and managing to put the boot in it now. Or just absolutely putting his foot to the floor just in case a caution comes out. Who knows at this point? It's really anyone's guess. As you can see now, if we jump to Josh Mickelmore, you can see in the background the cars coming off the corner are his teammates. So they are catching at a vast rate of knots and they will be past him within a lap or two. This has really not worked out well for Mickelmore. So almost 3 seconds a lap slower than his teammates that last time round. Definitely losing time. And you can just see how much faster those other 2 Hitch Motorsport cars are. Danny G leading it at the moment. And you can see them catching very, very quickly.
We only have 10 laps to go, Carl. Is it going to be enough?
That's it. It's going to be enough to catch Mickelmore for sure, but what about the guys up the front? As I think Gallagher is actually very, very low on fuel, losing quite a bit of speed there. I thought almost out of fuel there because the car was spluttering and coughing as he was going around the corner. They are really playing with fire here. This is a fascinating end to the race. So the leader's setting a 33.2 on that last lap. Quite a lot slower than the guys that have fuel and tyres on them. Danny G just 12 seconds away from the race leader now, but if it stays as it is, don't think they'll catch him before the end of the race. So it's really a catch-up game for these guys now, but does Hamish Gallagher have enough fuel to get it to the line? This is going to be the big question. Who has the fuel to get it to the line?
Is Skurlock out of fuel there, or is what's happened? Because Mickelmore's just come screaming by him.
Skurlock is really struggling now. Yeah, it sounds like that car is running on vapours because he is way off the pace. Will we see Skurlock coming into the pit lane this time round?
Or has Mickelmore just been saving really hard? We don't know.
No, Skurlock keeps it out there. Maybe a bit of a mistake for Skurlock, but Yeah, he lost a lot of time that time round, as we're on lap 127 here of 133, and Gallagher still has that lead. He's doing well out there, keeping that fuel going. With just 8 seconds between the leader and Danny G now, it's starting to get close. It's starting to really close up, as Danny G and Martin have a little bit of a battle between each other as they try and get past their teammate, and looks like they're going to get past Mickle without too much trouble, and they do indeed. Danny G now is the first car with those fresh tyres and full fuel tanks, so he's going to be pushing hard, but Martin is very close behind him. Raymond Yeager's now got to start looking over his shoulder. He's only got about 4 seconds between himself and Danny G. Gallagher is just running to fuel. And Yeager's coming in. Yeager has come in, can't make it to the end. So obviously was just pushing there just in case a caution came out. So will Gallagher make it here? We're coming up to lap 130 this time round, as the leaders are 6.5 seconds away from him. He had really got to hope for something crazy to happen, or just manage to creep across the line here maybe. This could be a brilliant win on strategy for Gallagher, or a great win for Mitch Motorsport with either Danny G or Jason Martin at the moment. But it is so close. Gallagher is lifting off as much as he can, switching off the engine as they come around for lap 131. Danny G is catching at a vast rate of knots. You can see them in the background, the Mitch Motorsport cars are getting very, very close now, as we've got 4 laps to go. Sorry, I've got 2 laps to go, sorry. As Gallagher just keeps it going somehow. As we're on lap 131 of this race. Gallagher just easing off around those corners. It's going to be so close here. If Gallagher's got the fuel, he needs to really put it on it now for this Hybrid Racing Simulations White Flag lap. He's got to really go once we get there, because those guys are catching at a vast rate of knots. He's really not got much time left. And it looks like the tyres are starting to go off of the guys that have pitted, so they're not gaining quite as fast, but they're managing to go around this track on fuel completely. You can see them catching up to Gallagher here as we come to the line for the white flag lap by Hybrid Racing Simulations. Is Gallagher going to do it? He's only got 1 lap to go. Not much here, but you can see them visibly catching him. It's down to 1.7 seconds now between Gallagher and Danny G. Could Gallagher pull out a fantastic win here as he goes into the final set of corners, into the tri-oval section, puts his foot back on the floor, turns the engine back on. Is there going to be enough fuel to get it to the line? It looks like it might do it. He's done it, and Danny G gets second place by the narrowest of margins, with Jason Martin in third. Norman Clark takes a fantastic 4th position as well for JP Simshed. Brilliant drive for Norman Clark. Shay Thompson manages to pip Josh Micklemore to the post in 5th place. 6th place we have Michael Skurlock, who is looking to be completely out of fuel. Stephen Williams crosses for 8th. Damage control for Edward Foster, who manages to get 9th place. Brilliant recovery drive for Foster, with Bradley Allison managing 10th in the end. But a brilliant win there for Hamish Gallagher.
Yeah, that was a very, very impressive and a big balls call.
It was, and I'm pretty sure Gallagher's out of fuel, can't even do a burnout after this one. Just going to park it on the line and leave it there. Very much used every last drop of fuel in that car. Brilliant result there. Believe Hamish Gallagher's first win in the Cup as well.
Could be there, Carl. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I know he's always very high up in the standings.
Yeah, Gallagher has had some good finishes in the past, but I'm pretty sure this is the first top step on the Cup series. I'm probably wrong, but that's usually the case with me, as it so often is. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go and grab Hamish Gallagher. Hamish Gallagher, Carl Withy here with JP Simshed, Simshed Broadcasting. There we go. Got words coming out. Congratulations on that nail-biting win.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Really love that. Oh, it was really good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first win in Cup, is it for you?
Sure is, Carl.
Yep, I thought I was right for once. Well, one hell of a way to get that victory. Fuel saving to the absolute most there. You managed to win that race just 1 second ahead of Danny G, who stopped before you, of course. When did you know that you could possibly make it?
Probably literally maybe 2 or 3 laps there, because I could see them all coming. I thought, oh, I'm going to get absolutely swamped, but I was able to save an extra lap there. So the last 2 laps there, I was pretty much flat. So then I finally thought, wow, I'm actually going to win a race. How good's that?
And you did it in a remarkable style as well. Obviously, you didn't get to enjoy the burnouts at the end. Obviously, no fuel left in the car for that.
Yeah, no, she was dead.
We did hear you. Were you switching off the engine as you were going around the course there for those last, it seemed like 20 or so laps?
Oh, yeah, no, I was clutching at every corner for about 30 or 40 laps there. As soon as they all came in the pit, I thought, I'm going to roll the dice here, because it was impossible to pass in this here, in the setup. So I thought the only way I'm going to win this is trying on strategy. So I gave it a shot and it paid off. Can't believe it.
It paid off very well, and yeah, look, what a great call for you. Obviously, that sort of that second caution, where were we? Third caution, I think. The caution at lap 165. That really made it sort of so you could possibly go to the end. It was very much marginal, and yeah, just congratulations there. That was one heck of a victory. We did see a couple of other drivers sort of fuel saving as well, and nobody managed it quite as well as you.
Yeah, I saw Skurlock. He was definitely fuel saving, but I was pulling away from him, so wasn't too worried about him. Just worried about the guys pitting like Jason and stuff like that. I knew they'd be coming hard, but managed to just hold them off. So all good.
Yes, well, before we let you go, and also congratulations on your first Cup victory. It's great to have another new victor into the booth this season. Anyone you'd like to thank, shout out to, and congratulate for tonight?
Yeah, obviously I give a shout out to all the guys who run the ANZCAR League. Obviously takes a lot of work to run this. So Danny and Ed and Matt, and obviously you guys as well, putting the broadcast on. I look forward to watching this one tomorrow.
I'm sure you are. Yeah, you did a good race there. It was very well done at the end. We did notice the fuel saving earlier on, but yeah, remarkable victory there. Congratulations on that first Cup victory, and well, now you've got that first one. The next ones will hopefully be a bit easier for you.
Yeah, sure. Let's hope so. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Hamish. We'll catch you again. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Hamish Gallagher there. What a impressive victory there. Fantastic to see him getting his maiden win in ANZCAR. Look, he's been thereabouts through a couple of seasons. He's always had speed and always been threatening to get that victory. We've said it for a few races that, definitely has that speed there, but just needs luck to come his way. And, well, tonight was the night.
Yeah, it was definitely his night. He made the right call on the strategy there at the end. And as he said, the setups aren't always the best, so he used that to his advantage.
He did indeed, and really made it pay off. So it was a true love story for Hamish Gallagher tonight in the Taylor Swift car. So next up, we'll grab Danny G down. Danny G, Carl Withy here for Simshed Broadcasting. Congratulations on that very, very, very close second place.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there was another lap, I reckon you would have got the win there. Maybe it was a bit of a risky call coming into the pits, obviously, and even riskier staying out there, as we saw for your teammate Josh Mickelmore. You and Jason Martin really managed to make it pay off and get back up the field, almost getting that victory.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when I restarted, I mean, when I wasn't going to make it by 3 laps. I didn't think anyone could make it. So Hamish did an awesome job to be able to save that. But yeah, Jason and I, we probably came in a lap too late, a lap or two too late. Came in a little bit earlier, we may have snuck by for the win.
Yeah, it was another strong showing for the Mitch Motorsport boys. Obviously, you guys locked out the front row again, and yourself was up there in fifth place, I think, on the start. You guys just seem to be extremely strong. Obviously, practice and teamwork is paying off very well between you all, and your season is going strong to stronger at the moment. This is going to really eke out your points lead in the championship.
Yeah, it should do. Yeah, it's been a great year for us. We're pretty consistent, at least at the moment. Well, it's pretty much all of us running up in the top 5, which is where we want to be. And yeah, the longer we keep doing that, we'll get those wins.
Yeah, and look, as I say, for yourself, your nearest championship rival was Josh Micklemore down in 6th place. So that's really going to help out your lead in the championship a little bit, get you a few more points ahead for sure. And it's been a very good start of the season for yourself.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you. Yeah, it does feel good sort of being up there in the championship. Like I said, I think a couple of weeks ago I hadn't been up there for in my life really. So it's pretty cool to get up there and just keep building on that week by week.
Well, hopefully you'll keep up there for the rest of the season. I wish you the best of luck. Before I let you run off, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, Ace Drop, Mitch Motorsports, Bob Signs for the paints, and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
No worries. Thanks, Danny G. I'm sure we'll catch you again soon. Have a good week. We'll see you again soon, I'm sure.
You too. Thanks, guys.
Absolute brilliant drive again from Danny G, and consistent this year. He has been consistently up there, and that's why he's leading the championship for sure.
Yeah, those Mitch Motorsport guys have been all consistently up there this year, and it like he's there's no. I don't. Yeah, like you said, they could have come in that lap earlier, but it also looked like the tyres and everything was starting to plateau out there right at the end of that race.
Yeah, it sort of it all worked in the favour of Gallagher. Really, it just sort of dropped off just at the right time for him for the tyres, and just had enough fuel to cross the line there. Just speaking of Danny G's championship, he came into this round with a 20-point lead, which is quite a decent chunk in NASCAR. He's going to come out of it with a bit more of a lead because his nearest championship rival was Foster in 20 points behind him. Obviously, 9th place for Foster, it's going to net him some points still, but it's really going to help with that lead and get him closer to that chase position.
Yeah. That chase is obviously what all the guys out there are aiming for to get into, and then after that win the championship.
Absolutely, it's all the important bits. So next up, we'll grab 3rd place man Jason Martin. Jason Martin, Carl Withy here in the Simshed broadcasting booth. How are you going?
Pretty good. Pretty happy to have a good clean run again and get a decent result.
Yeah, look, another decent result for you and another decent result for the team. Obviously, not the win. Hamish Gallagher sneaking that one out with the field there. It was a very close finish between yourself and Danny G, though.
And Hamish did a brilliant job to win that. But yeah, it was pretty close at the end between all three of us. 1 or 2 more laps, that would have been real exciting.
It was nail biting as it was. I can't imagine another couple of laps there. We were just talking. It looked like your tyres were dropping off a little bit towards the last couple of laps. Did you guys notice just a little bit less speed there, or was it just a bit to do with traffic?
Yeah, just traffic. The dirty air can make you miss your line a bit, and when you miss the line, you got to worry about hitting the wall, and it slows you down. So yeah, it gets a bit tricky.
It is easy to do on this track, unfortunately. Just getting that dirty air and going into the wall. It's what we saw earlier on in the race. Just quickly as well, while I've still got you here, just on your teammate Josh Micklemore. Obviously, he did try to go the race for the race on the fuel as well. It didn't quite work out for him. Were you guys in communication with that one? Were you sort of trying to work out sort of who's going to go where and if it's worth sticking out there trying for the fuel run, or were you just sort of all going on your own little strategy?
Yeah, neither neither of us were too sure, so it was a bit of a toss of a coin to decide what we were going to do. But I saw I couldn't make it, so I said I'm going to have to pit now. Then Danny G followed me, and Josh said no, he's going to try and save.
It was a valiant effort. Didn't pay off too well in the end. Still managed to get all three of the Mitch Motorsport cars in the top 10, though, which is another fantastic result for the team, and managed to get you in third place as well, which is going to help with your championship standings in this season as well. Obviously, the start of the year didn't go too well for you, but the second half of this season is starting to pay off.
Yeah, finally my luck's starting to change.
Yeah, not kicking all those black cats is definitely helping.
Sure is.
Okay, James, before I let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, anything you'd like to say, and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, well done, Hamish. Great win. Thanks to BK Designs. Thanks to ANZCAR for putting on the league. And JP Simshed for broadcasting the races. Always good to look at it after the race and see how other people went.
We're glad you enjoy the races afterwards. It's always nice to hear, and thank you so much for putting on a great show, Jason.
Cheers, guys.
Jason Martin there for Mitch Motorsport. Fantastic job again, up in the top three. Yeah, Mitch Motorsport been very strong this season. Also, the other big team as well this year, JP Simshed. Obviously, no super loyalty between the Simshed broadcasting team and the JP Simshed team, but fourth place there for Norman Clark. Great to see. Just got to say as well, Foster managing to get back up to 9th was a very good drive as well, considering we saw him in the wall with Bradley Allison as well in 10th. Really good comeback for those guys, managing to get back in the top 10 from that incident. What a race, Johnny.
Yeah, it was quite the race there, coming down to it at the end.
It was, and yeah, look, Hamish Gallagher just pulling out that win, stealing it almost. Brilliant job, brilliant fuel saving for him. Just for the channel, we'll just let you know that the V8 series won't be running next week, but expect an announcement coming towards the end of the week for that one. And we, of course, will be back next week for the Cup series. As is always the case, we seem to never be stopping anymore. It just seems to be race after race after race, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's been a long season, and we've still got a lot of races to go, of course, this year. We are coming towards the halfway point now, and we are sort of seeing the sort of the usual suspects getting up there, of course. Next time out, we're in Michigan, of course. A bit of a different race, and then Sonoma, everybody's favourite. But we're in that sort of second half of the season now. Michigan's a bit different. Of course, we're going to get to the road courses after that, and we're going to see some different drivers dominating on those circuits for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone has their strong and weak tracks.
Absolutely. It is very much the case. Well, from myself, Carl Withy, Jonathan Hancock, and of course JP in the production area, we wish you all a good night, and we will see you next time out, June the 4th at Michigan Motor Speedway. Good night.